This is the drive home with TT for the Millwall drive home. Driving home from the Den where it finished. Millwall 0, Stoke City 0. It's another tough game to try and commentate on and get anything else out of, because it was a game that lacked quality throughout. Both teams looked like they were both on their summer holidays, to be honest, and you can kind of understand that from Stoke, but not from us. There was a complete lack of attacking threat from both sides. It just looked like neither team were going to score throughout the whole 90 minutes, and that's not good enough. Certainly not good enough from us. We've got to do better in a game where we need to win. We started off with one change. Williams come back into the starting lineup. We had Dave Martin in goal, and I'll just give you the ratings and then I'll talk about it afterwards. So Dave Martin in goal, 7. Marlon Romeo, 8. Jake Cooper and Alex Pearce at centre-back, 7. Shane Ferguson at left-back, 7. We had 5 in the midfield. Jed Wallace on the right, 7. 2 holding midfielders, and I believe to be fair, the 3 central midfielders, and they all seemed to rotate the positions. I couldn't quite figure out who was playing where. And none of them covered themselves in glory, to be honest. I think Leonard and Tunnicliffe, both on the ball, looked a bit lost. They battled well, and for that reason they get 6. Williams also, I'll give a 6. Left midfielders, Ben Marshall, who it was a poor performance from Ben. There's no ways of getting around it, and he was walking around the pitch at one stage, which is why he was taken off. We'll give Ben Marshall 5, and Lee Gregory up front, and I'll give Lee Gregory a 6 also. Second half we changed it up slightly in that one sub really until Ferguson got injured near the end. Morrison coming on to give us 2 up front, which seemed to work a little bit. Morrison done nothing in the game though, so Morrison can only get a 5. And then obviously Meredith came on right near the end for Ferguson, but it didn't really impact the game. There's no point in scoring him, it's not fair on him. So that's my scores, and some of them are more generous than probably they should be, but it's a game where we've got to go out there and we've got to go and win it. I just don't understand where, certainly in the second half, parts of it, we looked like we were happy with the point. And I know a point could be enough. If Rotherham lose today, that's mathematically we're safe. But what does that say going into next season? What's that saying to the fans that, it's another good turnout? We had 14,000 fans there today. That's, if you know our club, you know that we don't, if certainly towards an end of a season we're dropping off, attendances start to drop, but they haven't this year, and that's testament to the fact that we're trying to back the boys, and there's not much to back. The game today was just, like I said, Marlon Romeo and Jed Wallace, 2 players that will run on the ball. Jed's end product today was off, but he tries his absolute nuts off. He's running at players constantly, and that's what the game cried out for. In the second half, it was crying out for someone to come on with pace. They've got Ashley Williams and Ryan Shawcross at the back and they were exposed. There was a number of times we had our 3 on their 3, and we didn't really look like scoring, other than once where Wallace just absolutely run down the left and then goes round the outside of him and bangs a shot in. And to be fair, it was a very, very good reflex save from Jack Butland, and that was the only save he had to make. It's against a team where, yeah, they've got some quality, but they didn't particularly look up for it. And we didn't put them under any pressure. I just don't understand how we can't do that. There was no waves of pressure. There was no waves of chances. It was just, oh, well, we're not losing, so that's good enough. It wasn't good enough. And I try and be positive all the time. But we are still struggling to stay in this division. And at the moment, it's 0-0 in the West Brom Rotherham game. And we're relying again on other teams doing us a favour. But we've got to go out there and do something, and that worries me for next season, because all the time I've said there's going to be a lot of changes, we've got to stay up in the Championship, but that tactically today and in quality wise was just way off, and that's that's worrying for next year, and that's the first time I've really felt coming out of the stadium that that's not good enough. That can't keep continuing. And I don't know whether it's the players, I don't know whether it's the manager, I don't know whether it's the tactics, and it's probably a mix of all three. But our fans weren't into it. There was no real atmosphere in the first half, and it was an absolutely awful first half. There is no getting away from it. I can't remember us doing anything other than winning a few corners. You know, Stoke, we were unlucky. Stoke had a period of about 5 minutes where they created a few chances, and Martin's made a good save. Where the ball's come, you know, we've been beaten in behind. The ball's come across, and I'm not sure who had Benicophobe, but someone put a lot of pressure on him. There was no foul, and you can see why Stoke players were asking for it, because there was going to be nothing else in the game. A penalty could have decided it, but it was never a penalty. He put him under pressure, but Benicophobe got his shot away, and Martin blocked well. And to be fair, that's pretty much all Martin done in the game. You know, Martin, Jack Butland, in a championship game where we need to win, both of them have made a save that I can remember. A save. One save. You know. My man of the match today was Marlon Romeo. I gave him an 8, and that's because he's someone, I know he gets caught out of position. He gets caught when he's on the ball, but he's running at players. You know, he looks lively. He looks like he wants to do something, and he's getting more and more confident. And I think if you put him in a decent side, he's gonna only get better and better and better. We need to keep him at the club, because I really rate Marlon Romeo, and I know a lot of people criticise his defending. He's a defender at the end of the day, but we've kept another clean sheet with him in the back, so he's not that bad defensively. And going forward, he looks energetic. He looks half decent, and that's what we seriously lack in the team. You know, we've got Leonard and Williams and Tunnicliffe in the midfield, and none of them want to run on the ball today. And Leonard did it once in the second half where he cut in and had a good shot that was blocked. They've got to be doing that more often. You know, they've got to want to take the game in their hands and try and win it for us and get in the box. You know, today we pressed high, and then we still let them pass out, because once they got behind the front 3 or 4 who pressed, the midfield and the defence was miles behind. So they could just play around us. 1 or 2 passes, get it out. If you're going to press, the whole team needs to press, or you let them have it in their own half and come out. What we did today was neither here nor there, and I don't understand that. I wanted first 20 minutes to just absolutely pile drive Stoke, and I think if we'd have done that, we'd have won the game, because, like I said, they didn't look like they were really up for it. You know, they looked a little bit like they're on the beach. That's the worst I've ever seen Tom Ince play. And I've always, and I dislike his attitude and the way he holds himself, but he's a player that runs on the ball. He's an exciting player, but today he just wasn't in the game at all. And players like that, you know, if they're not playing, Stoke didn't play. Joe Allen, very good in the first half. Second half, didn't do absolutely anything. And it was just an awful game of football to watch. We looked a team, just like I said, so bereft of confidence and ideas of what we should be doing. I'll move on to ref watch. Oliver Langford, he decided for the first 80 minutes that no matter what happened, he was not getting his card out, which I like that kind of refereeing, as long as it's consistent, and it was consistent. Then he gets his card out for a tackle that needs to be booked, and then obviously the next tackle gets booked again, so it's 2 bookings in the space of 2 seconds. But he wasn't really in the game, and that's good. And when a referee's not noticed at the end, that's ideal. So I don't think he was biased for either team. He just didn't want to get his cards out. There was a couple of challenges that I felt deserved bookings from both sides, to be honest, that he didn't go. So at least he was consistent with that. We've now got, I think, the second half in that game at West Brom, and I really want to be listening to it on the radio, listening for the updates rather than doing the drive home, because our game was just a joke of a game, considering what we're trying to do, and I'm just not happy. Yes, we've kept a clean sheet against a good Stoke side, but that is literally the only positive we can take out of it. Zach, who's your man of the match today?
Either Wallace or Romeo.
Wallace or Romeo. What about you, Jason? Wallace. And see, you can understand why they say Wallace. Wallace frustrates people because he loses the ball, or he runs into blind alleys, but he tries his nuts off. You know, he's trying to run on the ball. Anyway, that's done. Let's keep our fingers crossed, and then we're going to go to we've got Bristol City at home, and hopefully we'll be safe in the division and a few changes can come in. I don't particularly like Fred Onyedinma coming in. I think whatever has happened to him, he's been kind of ousted out of the club for whatever reason, which is normally an attitude. But it was crying out for him or Scalak to come on today. Like I said, it needed pace. And so that's what we'll need to do against Bristol City. We need to take a game by the scruff of its neck and just go after teams. And that's what we need to do on Tuesday night if we're not safe. Remember, don't forget the Wonderwall Cup tickets. That's at the end of May. I think it's the 26th on the Sunday. You've got the F2 freestylers and loads of ex-Millwall players going to be there. So if you haven't got tickets for that, please get tickets for that. You can get it on millwalltickets.com. I need about 28, I think, subscribers for the channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please get me to 1,000 before the end of the season. I want to do a couple of live videos, and I can't do live videos like an FA Cup reaction draw that I've done. I can't do it if I don't have 1,000 subscribers. So if you can get me up to that, that'd be appreciated. Thanks for watching. Put your comments in below, and I know there's going to be a number of you saying Harris needs to go, and it's tough. It's tough to argue when you see games like that. There's not much you can say, so put your comments, like the video if you don't mind. Thanks for watching, and we go again on Tuesday night. Come on, you Lions.